tell us about Todd.
Oh, Todd. Todd is a character that we meet in the first episode who's having probably the worst day of his life. He works as a bellboy for a hotel, and his life kind of comes crumbling down around him very quickly within the context of the first episode. In terms of who he is, that's sort of revealed throughout the course of the show, but he's not quite as he seems initially. And in some ways, he's at his own fault for getting to the place in his life that he's at when we meet him. And he meets Dirk in the first episode, and Dirk essentially sort of ingratiates himself into his life and says, "You're my assistant. This is what we're doing this case." And Todd wants nothing to do with it, of course. And then as more information about the case sort of starts to unravel and evolve, and the more that what the crazy things that Dirk Gently is saying to him becomes possibly true, the more he becomes genuinely invested in the case.
I have actually seen the first 3 episodes.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So you know.
So it feels like Todd actually takes a little bit longer to warm up to Dirk than a lot of the other characters.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think he's a little cynical. I think there's a general malaise in his life, and to a certain degree, his life was partially ruined because of Dirk's entrance. So I think there's a slight bit of resentment there as well. You know, had he, in Todd's mind, had he not met Dirk, potentially these things wouldn't have happened. And so I think that has a lot to do with his reluctance.
How familiar with the books were you before you took on the project?
Not at all. I mean, I was familiar with Douglas Adams as an author, but I'd never read any of his books.
And you've probably never seen the BBC series?
I have not, no.
Okay. This has there's obviously a lot more mystery unfolding. It's much more serialized than the stories were. How much were you guys aware of before the series started, and how much was there on set trying to figure out what was going on?
Well, the scripts were kind of being written as we were going along. So there were, I think, when we started, the first 4 scripts were done, or 3 scripts. And then Max was finishing the others as we were going. A lot was revealed to me when I got to Vancouver to start working. There were a lot of things that I didn't know. So before I started, all I knew was what happened in the pilot and a little bit about where things were going based on what Max had told me. But I learned a lot more when we started, and it was fascinating. And even things in episode 7 and 8 were a little bit of a reveal later down the road as well, as we were going.
Obviously, you can't give me any spoilers, but from the first episode, reading just that, or just watching it as a fan, it seems pretty obvious that Todd was faking having the same disease that his sister runs in his family. Did you get that feeling from your first read, too?
Yeah.
In our show, we have comedy,
Yeah.
action, fantasy, magic.
That's a big reveal.
We have everything, and I think it really
It seems pretty obvious. I don't know. Maybe
It's
not.
certainly possible.
You've gone from Wilfred to this. I mean, obviously, there have been other projects.
lead roles, but not in the ways.
Which would you rather deal with, Dirk Gently in real life, or a man in a dog costume? Which would be a little easier, you think?
Well, the man in the dog costume is sort of the manifestation of his own psyche, so I think I'd rather deal with Dirk. But there are benefits to both.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.